World War II was the largest and deadliest conflict in human history. Over 70 countries, more than 100 million soldiers, and battles that reshaped the world forever. It's a story we all think we know, filled with epic battles and towering historical figures. But beyond the famous clashes and well-known leaders, the war is overflowing with strange, clever, and absolutely unbelievable facts you probably never learned in school. These are the hidden stories, the secret missions, and the bizarre inventions that paint a far more complex and fascinating picture of the conflict. So, get ready, because we're about to dive deep into the archives and uncover the most fascinating secrets of World War II. One of the greatest deceptions in military history unfolded just before the pivotal D-Day landings. To win the war, the Allies knew they had to fool Hitler about where they would invade Europe. So, they didn't just create a plan. They created an entire fake army. This phantom force, known as the 1st U.S. Army Group, was led by the famous General George S. Patton, a commander the Germans respected and feared. But this army was made of air. The Allies deployed hundreds of inflatable tanks, rubber airplanes, and wooden landing craft across southeastern England. They even generated fake radio traffic, creating the illusion of a massive force preparing to cross the English Channel at its narrowest point. The deception, codenamed Operation Fortitude, was a masterpiece of misdirection. German intelligence completely bought it, keeping their best panzer divisions waiting for an invasion that would never come, far away from the real landing sites in Normandy. This ghost army's success was crucial, helping to save countless lives and ensure the Allied foothold in France. The immense pressure of World War II also sparked some of the most unconventional and downright bizarre ideas for weapons. Imagine this. The United States military seriously considered and developed a plan to use bats as bombers. Yes, actual bats. The idea, known as Project X-Ray, involved attaching tiny, timed incendiary devices to millions of Mexican free-tailed bats. These bats would be dropped over Japanese cities at dawn, where they would roost in the eaves of the predominantly wooden buildings. When the timers went off, they would ignite thousands of small fires simultaneously, creating widespread chaos and destruction. The project was tested and proved surprisingly effective, but it was ultimately shelved in favor of a far more powerful and destructive weapon. Another strange but brilliant idea involved training pigeons to guide missiles, developed by psychologists B.F. Skinner. Project Pigeon placed a trained pigeon inside the nose cone of a missile. A screen in front of the pigeon displayed an image of the target. The pigeon was trained to peck at the center of the target, and these pecks would control the missile's fins, guiding it to its destination. Like the bat bomb, Project Pigeon showed incredible promise in tests, but was ultimately deemed too eccentric and was canceled. These weren't just science fiction. They were real projects that show how desperate times can lead to extraordinary innovation. The war's iconic leaders were just as complex and peculiar as the weapons they commanded. Adolf Hitler, the ruthless dictator of Nazi Germany, was a notorious vegetarian and had an obsessive fear of being poisoned. To counter this, he employed a team of 15 young women known as food tasters. Every single meal prepared for him had to be tasted by one of these women first. Only if she remained alive and well an hour later would the food be served to the fora. Imagine the daily stress of that job. On the Allied side, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill was a figure of immense energy and eccentric habits. He was famous for his love of cigars, smoking up to 10 a day. He often conducted important war business from the comfort of his bed, staying there until well past noon, dictating letters and holding meetings while dressed in his pajamas. He also enjoyed taking 2 baths a day and was known for his love of fine brandy and champagne. These personal quirks remind us that behind the monumental decisions and historic speeches, the leaders steering the fate of the world were still human, with their own unique routines and fears. Beyond the battles, World War II fundamentally redrew the map of the world. The defeat of the Axis powers led to a complete political restructuring of the globe. Germany, once a unified and aggressive empire, was carved into 4 occupation zones by the victorious Allies, which eventually led to the division into West and East Germany, a separation that would last for over 4 decades. Nations like Poland had their borders physically shifted westward. In Asia, the collapse of the Japanese Empire led to the independence of countries like Korea and Vietnam, but also sowed the seeds of future conflicts. But perhaps the most significant geopolitical outcome was the dawn of the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union, allies of convenience during emerged as the world's two superpowers with deeply opposing ideologies. This rivalry split the world into two blocks, creating the Iron Curtain, ushering in decades of tension, proxy wars, and a terrifying nuclear arms race. The political landscape we live in today, from the structure of the United Nations to ongoing conflicts in various parts of the world, still bears the deep and unmistakable fingerprints of World War II. While leaders and generals made the grand strategies, the war was won through countless acts of individual courage on the battlefield. Some soldiers performed feats so incredible they sound like something out of a Hollywood movie. To Eddie Murphy, one of the most decorated American soldiers of the war. In one famous engagement in France, Murphy's unit was attacked by 6 German tanks and waves of infantry. With his men falling back, Murphy, who was wounded, climbed onto a burning M10 tank destroyer that was about to explode. For over an hour, he single-handedly used its .50 caliber machine gun to hold off the entire German advance, killing around 50 enemy soldiers. He only stopped when he ran out of ammunition. He then walked back to his men, still wounded, and organized a successful counterattack. His unbelievable bravery earned him the Medal of Honor. Stories like his, of ordinary people rising to do extraordinary things in the face of impossible odds, became legends that inspired entire nations and defined what it means to be a hero. The end of the war was as dramatic and world-altering as its beginning. It concluded with the deployment of a weapon so powerful it defied imagination. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped a single bomb over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, another was dropped on Nagasaki. These were the atomic bombs, the culmination of the top-secret Manhattan Project. In an instant, these weapons unleashed unprecedented destruction, ending the war but also opening a terrifying new chapter in human history. The nuclear age. For the first time, humanity held the power to cause its own extinction. The existence of nuclear weapons would shape international politics for the rest of the 20th century and beyond, creating a delicate and frightening balance of power built on the principle of mutually assured destruction. The mushroom clouds over Japan signaled not just the end of World War II, but the beginning of a new and far more dangerous world. World War II was so much more than a series of battles. It was a global crucible that tested the limits of human cruelty and courage. It was a turning point for technology, accelerating everything from jet engines and computers to atomic energy. It rewrote borders, shattered empires, and created the political world we inhabit today. By exploring these hidden stories, the ghost armies, the bat bombs, the personal habits of leaders, and the incredible acts of soldiers, we gain a richer, more complete understanding of the conflict. It helps us remember not just how the war was fought, but why its lessons about the costs of conflict, the dangers of ideology, and the importance of our shared humanity must never, ever be forgotten. Thanks for watching, and if you found these stories as fascinating as we did, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history.